starts, and this is only the 8th game for the Rangers.
At the other end of the ice, it'll be Ken Reggett. The face-off is brought to you by Budweiser, king of beers. For all you do this, Bud, for you get a load of this Flyers lineup. Chychrun and Wells to defense, Berube, Sutter, and Tocchet up front. Berube side by side with Nyland for the opening face-off. Janssens and Eriksson are the other Rangers, and Berube and Nyland hook up a bit with their sticks and now stare at one another as you see play moving back near Van Beesbrook. The defense for the Rangers, Patrick and Hardy. Wells with a shot, cut off by James Patrick and brought back out. Down to the ice went Nyland, and we have a delayed penalty call coming up against the Flyers. And Rick Tocchet touches it, and Craig Berube will go off the ice on a trip.
Well, we'll try and take this from the top. The Flyers wanted to have some muscle on the ice, and they did that in the form of not only Rick Tocchet, but Craig Berube. But the deal kind of backfires on the Flyers because they find themselves down a man right here. Hooking is the call. Watch Nyland come back, and Berube tries to hold him back. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, you might be able to hear the oohs and the ahs from the crowd here at the Spectrum. Tough call that went against the Flyers. You can see that Nyland made it look real good.
Flyers will use Poulin and Propp in the shorthanded situation with Howe and Samuelson in back. It is a splendid power play the Rangers have. 11 for 37, and as you notice, 5th best in the league. Flyers are 12th. That's middle of the pack in killing them off. Here's Mark Howe. Leach kept it from going the distance. Leach and Patrick in back on the point. Puck given up to Poulin, who was surrounded, and played back to Samuelson, and the Flyers play a little keep away here. The one-time Ranger, Samuelson, forces play back down. Brian Propp darts right towards Patrick, so it's played off to Leach. Now Thomas Sandstrom comes on out with it. Ulf Dahlin is also out on the ice. 5 of his 6 goals are on the power play. Here's Wilson looking for Dahlin, shoveling off to Sandstrom. To the back it comes to Leach. Fires, and that went off a stick in front. To get it is Sandstrom. Menaced by Howe. Propp there as well, and the puck came to Dahlin. Dahlin forced off by Mark Howe's checking. Around from Wilson, it goes back to Patrick. Dips it off to Kerry Wilson once more. Poulin right in his passing path. So Wilson has to skate some more and gave it up to Howe. Aggressive penalty killing, but the Rangers can keep pressure on. Wilson over to Dahlin. Flips one in front. Chopped that score! Thomas Sandstrom, a minute and 37 seconds into the game, on the power play, has the Rangers ahead 1-0.
Well, the Flyers knew the Rangers have a lot of different looks on their power plays, so they really have to adjust. When they end up in a box, they have to move to a diamond. They have to sag back in. And I thought the Flyers did a pretty good job of coverage here. That pass came up. It may have even hit Mark Howe and just bounced right down to Sandstrom's stick. You may have noticed Mark Howe just tossing his head back in the air. Yeah, it goes off Mark Howe. Falls right in front of Sandstrom. Mark Howe can just throw his head up in the air and say, man, I can't believe this has happened. Because the Flyers positionally did everything right, but the Rangers got the bounce.
Dahlin and Wilson get the assists on Sandstrom's 5th. And for Sandstrom on the year, that's his 3rd on the power play, and it came at 1:37. Puck wound near Reggett. Sets it up for Murphy. It is Murray Craven's line out with Tim Kerr on the right, Pelle Eklund on the left. Pass is followed up by Craven. Craven bumps with David Shaw, and both of them go down. Tim Kerr burrows in trying to get to it, and the puck winds up underneath the humanity there for a halt.
We'll probably see the Flyers do a lot of dumping and chasing tonight because the New York Rangers have kind of adopted under Roger Nielsen. But first, watch this hit. Boom. Murray Craven. Now, Shaw, I thought, fell down and hit his head on the ice. No, I think he might have been in a little pain because of his legs seem to be twisted under him. But the New York Rangers under Nielsen play a neutral zone kind of defense that's very similar to Montreal's. What they do is they bring all of the wingers or all of the forwards over to one side of the ice. They cut off the neutral zone right down the middle, and they actually dare you to try a cross-ice pass. I think the Flyers are going to try and find a lane and dump it in rather than try cross-ice passes, because when the Rangers cut off that pass, they roar back at you 3 forwards strong.
Propp hooks one along for Tocchet. There'll be a hooking penalty coming up against the Rangers, and the Flyers will get a power play of their own.
Here, penalty number 21, David Shaw, 2 minutes for hooking. The time, 2 minutes, 12 seconds.
Well, we've only played a couple of minutes, but you're going to see the second penalty called in this game. Just to the right of your screen, Brian Propp is dragged down by David Shaw. There he sits. So the Flyers send out their power play unit that has sputtered along so far this year, but they know the makings are there for a great power play because the personnel is identical to last year, and this power play finished #1 overall.
They've had one power play goal in each of the last 4 games, but they've had a lot of opportunities on the power play. Here is Murphy. Sees Eklund skate by and will carry himself. Now Howe is out as well as Prop. Prop takes the pass. Tim Kerr is there too, but they're off kilter going in, and so another halt to play.
Well, we mentioned the Flyers' injury situation has improved considerably. Doug Sullivan, Jeff Harding, and Tony Horacek are just scratched tonight. Scott Mellanby and Terry Carton are still on the injured list. And for the Rangers, well, they're pretty healthy. Turcotte down near the bottom has a bruised foot, but by and large, they're a real healthy organization.
Flyers had 3 players sent down to the Hershey Bears. Thin out the roster a little bit. Murray Barron, Dave Fenves, and Brian Dobbin. Half a minute gone on the Flyers' power play as Mark Howe starts to bring it back up ice. Lays it on the wing to Brian Prop. Moves in and crosses with Kerr. Deals it back to Murphy. Murphy waits. Then slams one that's off a stick. Reaching it as Kerr can't get good wood on the backhand. It's kicked up along the boards and spun further, but off of Murphy, and Murphy must go back. Mark Hardy working out on defense along with the one-time Nordique Randy Moeller. Moeller intercepted that one, brushed it back across, and Mark Janssens carries further. Janssens all alone as the Rangers are making a change, and he chews up a lot of valuable power play time to the Flyers. Here's Eriksson in. Roughed up a bit by Brian Prop, and the puck brought further by Eklund. Eklund watched by Janssens. Drops it back deep, and Van Beesbroek is there. Turns it in close quarters for it to be cleared around, but not out. Wells able to hold along to Eklund. Looks back toward Wells, and then passes to him. Across the Craven, one-timer is dubbed. Talk it in to get it. Penalty time down to the last half minute. Loose puck jammed at by Kerr. Knocks a man right flat. Puck comes back to Wells. Wells finesses back over to Eklund. Feeds in front to Kerr. Hit the outside of the goal with a shot. Spun back around by Janssen. Sliding play by Craven to keep it alive. Back to Jay Wells. Side of the net to Eklund. Out in front off of Van Beesbroek. Loose puck forced back, and Eklund must go to get it in the last 5 seconds of power play time. They try for Kerr. It's brushed loose, but followed up by Jay Wells. Wells holds. Penalty time is up. Loose puck sent toward Kerr. Scooped up by the Rangers and outletted by Eriksson along to Shaw, fresh from the box. And Eklund has to hook it back to Reggett, and so the Rangers, with a bit of a scare, but still did a commendable job of killing off that power play. Flyers seemed to be in the zone and were passing all around, but could not get much penetration. Up the wing this comes for Derek Smith, and his shot into the glove of Van Beesbroek, who will just wait.
Well, you're right about the Flyers maintaining pressure. Pelle Eklund, it's interesting to watch him when he gets the puck in the power play. He looks for Tim Kerr, and Tim Kerr has the instinct to somehow get open. They just couldn't get the puck through the lanes. One thing the Rangers did pretty well on this kill was cut off the passing lane. Watch James Patrick just get pushed out of the way by Tim Kerr. That gives you an idea of why they call this guy Big Man. He is big, he is strong, and that's a perfect example of the disadvantage that just about every defenseman in the NHL is at when he tries to take on Tim Kerr one-on-one. He's just too strong.
Eklund tried to flip one along, and it's eventually brought back by the Rangers. As ahead with this, it is forced over to Sandstrom by Kerry Wilson, and in front to be jabbed to the glass by Poulin. Shaken off by Dollins checking. Also in is Mark Howe. Spins it around, and hoping to keep in doing it is Randy Moeller. Angles one hoping for Wilson, but it's poked along by Mark Howe, and the Flyers can move up with this. Samuelson's pass came right to Moeller. Moeller buried from behind by Derek Smith, but not until he turned it back on Reagan. 2 Rangers shots in the game, the Flyers with 1. We've played just over 5 minutes of this first period. 1-0 Rangers lead on a power play goal by Thomas Sandstrom. Here comes Derek Smith to play. Stood up by Mark Hardy. And the puck lobbed along by Dolan. Skated down by Kerry Wilson, but chopped from him by Chikrin. It is Hardy forcing it back. And then along to play is Wilson. Help came from Sandstrom, who poloed it right back in and then came to the bench for a shift change. This is Jeff Chikrin. Has Mike Bullard ahead along with Berube and Acton. That's the front line. Chikrin is playing with Kerry Huffman. And we get an offside call against the Flyers. 14-16 to go in the first. The Rangers lead 1-0.
There's Roger Nielsen standing behind the Rangers bench. To his left, assistant coach Ron Smith walking out of the picture. Roger Nielsen's 55 years old, and he doesn't look a day over 45. I'll tell you, he's one of the few guys that has coached for a lot of years and not had it age him.
Loose puck, and Acton couldn't get a good shot away as Patrick recovered after losing it right out of his glove to the Flyers. Dumped right back in again, and around it came to Reggett. Reggett shoveling off the glass, and out of play it goes. You mentioned Roger Nielsen. Nielsen was responsible for a few rule changes in this sport, wasn't he?
Oh, he sure. Roger Nielsen is a guy that really is looking for an edge just about all the time. In junior, he used to put one of his defensemen in goal to try and stop penalty shots, and then the junior leagues outlawed that. He has a winning record. You saw his record there, 25 games to date, over 500, and yet this guy hasn't been in a head coaching position for a few years. Well respected. He is a good technical coach. His ego is in shape. He's not trying to get out front and steal any of the show from the players.
Ron Sutter in on this face-off tie-up. Puck comes back, and a shot by Poshek was knocked down. Forced ahead by Jay Wells, and across it's taken by Tocchet. Thrown back in the zone by Brian Propp. Along to get this is Poshek. Wells able to stop it. Hands back across to Murphy. Then along to Tocchet. But it is Van Biesbroek waiting and cradling and then throwing away from Poshek. Off the glass, it is brought back out now by Mallette. Troy Mallette flips, and it is gathered in by the defenseman Murphy. Back ahead for Sutter. Then Tocchet. Rangers can control once more, and it's Tony Granato working it across. James Patrick blasts it around the glass. Around it comes toward Propp. Complete shift change now for the Rangers. John Ogrodnik, hot scoring left winger for the Rangers, is out right now. Shaw working in back on defense, along with Brian Leach. Shaw's pass on the money to Leach. Leach, the Russian, has Kissio, the trailer. Leach right through the defense, across, they score! Brian Leach with a miraculous play going through the defense and then feeding to John Ogrodnik for the air.
Boy, oh boy. Well, we told you that Brian Leach and James Patrick would try and be up on the play leading the rush, but boy, this is an all-star move. Jeff Chikrin went for the fake, the little wind-up by Brian Leach, and then a perfect slide. I'll tell you what, the great ones have omnivision. They can see everybody at all times on the ice. Brian Leach didn't win the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year in the NHL by accident last year, and you can see that Kenny Reagan had to rely on the people around him to try and cut off John Ogrodnik. That didn't happen either, and the Flyers are in a hole. That's some place where they've been rather frequently this year. They're down 2-0.
Ogrodnik gets the goal. Leach gets one assist, and David Shaw gets the other. Rangers 2-0 early here in the first period of play. Murray Craven tries to change that, but can't control near the Ranger line, so it's Shaw on defense, sending it right back across to Leach. Kerr, Craven, and Pelle Eklund, the front line for the Flyers, as Ogrodnik brings it in, gives to Kissio. His shot goes wide, and around it is chased by Leach. It'll be taken by Randy Moeller, and the Flyers make a change, bringing out Howe and Samuelson. Pass comes ahead to Erickson. Erickson hands back on to Chris Nyland. Nyland just slams one to the corner. Handling is Howe. Right on him is Janssens, but Howe able to hold on to this one and hand back up to Kerr. Kerr lobs one deep. Randy Moeller back to get it, and Kerr right there. Kerr bumps him, so does Derek Smith, but not hard enough, as the Rangers are able to move it back out in the person of Nyland. Chris Nyland with a pass back over to Mark Hardy, who moves in. Sends one across the goal mouth wide. Derek Smith to take it. One Flyer shot in the first 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Down to the ice goes Keith Acton. Puck poked along and into the skates of Derek Smith. Still the battle to continue with 5 players around it. Nyland moves out, took a good shoulder from Mike Bullard, and Howe can control back to Samuelson. Flyers in a change. They bring out Craig Berube now. Howe has to go deeper, and 2 Rangers right back on him. It's forced around by Howe to Samuelson. Mark Janssens wheels to the puck. Rams right into Mike Bullard. Puck ricocheted back deep. And it is Howe. Flyers having some trouble with this Ranger checking as Acton moves ahead with Bullard and Berube. The drop for Bullard is taken. Bullard tried to backhand one through. Loose puck was hung up in his skates for a moment. Gets up, strides to play it once more. Leach moves toward him for the Ranger defense, but a pass goes all the way around where Wells moves to play. Good hit on Sandstrom that time by Berube. Brought back out. The puck is worked ahead by Dahlin and brought on in by Sandstrom. Big drive is stopped by Reggett, and he'll hang on. And now Wells gets up and stares at Wilson, and Acton moves in. And
what's lost in all of this is that the Flyers survived a 3-on-1. Sandstrom had 2 guys to pass to, and he elected to shoot. But maybe the Flyers, to climb back into it, need to engage the Rangers into this type of game.
Shots are 4-1 Rangers. Goals 2-0.
Wilson on the left, Wells on the right. They're both off for roughing. Or the Rangers have shown great first-man pursuit in all zones. They've forced the Flyers defensively in the defensive zone, in the neutral zone, and it's a simple game so far. The Rangers have beaten the Flyers to just about every loose puck, and you can tell the Flyers are tight. They've tried at least a half a dozen passes. There were low-percentage passes, and you know the problem when you end up losing your confidence is you try and do a little more, and really, less is more when you've lost your confidence. You have to bring it back in, stick to the basic things, and don't try to do too much.
Boy, isn't that the motivation for about everyone, though? You always try.
Exactly.
You figure by working harder and doing more, you can actually improve.
Right. You just have to concentrate on your own job, and that's tough to do at times when your confidence is low.
Sinisalo works to Poulin. Backhands it right in on Van Beesbrook, and he'll hang on.
We talked about the goaltending situation in New York. Mike Richter, who's a Flowertown native, is still with the Rangers. Played his first game a couple nights ago and beat the Hartford Whalers, and Bob Prose is still there, so they've kind of got an enviable situation there with 3 major leaguers all playing well right now. Of course, let's face it, the Rangers are all playing well, and that's one of the luxuries that Roger Nielsen has right now. We were talking to him today, and he was talking about his lines that he has put together. There's Bobby Prose, ex-Flyer, watching, backing up Van Beesbrook tonight. But Roger Nielsen just put the lines together at training camp. He said, I was just putting lines together, and we started playing well, and we haven't stopped playing well. So he has the luxury now of not having to tamper with anything. He's just going with the same lineup he threw together at camp.
Ahead now come the Rangers with just over 10 minutes to play in the first period. It's walled around near Reggett, comes back over to Poulin. Taps it along further, and Mike Bullard steps to it, but it's Poshek throwing it back across, and Leach must chase. Bullard sweeps near him. Puck chopped back by Dolan, and so it forces Leach to play again. He's hit by Derek Smith. Banked around near Poshek. Pinching in is Mark Howe. Howe wraps. Around it goes, and Samuelson is there. Still able to work along with Ulf Dolan of the Rangers. They spar for the puck, and it kicked back out. So Mark Howe will go back to take it. Flyers with a shot on the power play and a shot at even strength just a moment ago. 2 shots thus far. The Rangers with 4. Poshek across, gets it back again from Leach. Rangers have made a change up front. It's brought on now by Chris King. King tries to step through the defense and can't. Forced off by Kerry Huffman. Puck banked right back along to Prop. Prop finesses on to Ron Sutter. Sutter forced right off, though, by the checking of Granato. And the Rangers lay it back in, and then Moeller was hit from behind by Tocchet. We get a stoppage of play, and Terry Gregson heads to the penalty box.
Well, the Flyers are going to get another shot at the power play. The New York Rangers have been called for too many men on the ice.
Rangers guilty of having too many men out there. Let's see if we can count them up for you.
Well, forwards, there are 3 right at the top. There are 2 at the bottom. Oh, there's 1 right at center. There's 6 skaters. You saw Van Beesbrook at the start, but that's a flagrant, boy. That's not even a close one. There were 6 guys out there involved in the play.
I was told that the famous too many men on the ice penalty assessed to the Bruins, I believe it was 1979 in Montreal in the playoffs. The referee for that game skated by the Bruins bench a couple of times shouting, "Can you count?" He didn't want to have to call it, but eventually it was such a flagrant penalty, and they had 6 attackers plus a goalie out there for so long that he had to. Craven to Kerr. It went through Van Beesbrook and then was poked away by Eriksson. Back again to Craven. Then across to Eklund, to Craven once more. Shoots one that trickled right in on goal. Forced on Van Beesbrook by Brian Prop, but he made that stop. Rolled along by Murphy. Chopped along by Hardy. Eklund couldn't control. Staggering free from him is Eriksson. They work a pass to Murphy. Slams one! And Van Beesbrook, despite Kerr being there, was able to see it and block it away. 2 aside, continue the battle. Penalty time is half over to the Rangers. And so Reggett wants to move right out by turning this along to Craven. Craven then to Bullard, but it's Hardy brushing it back.
You know, the Flyers knew the Rangers were going to kill penalties very aggressively in their own zone, the Rangers in their own zone. So that what they're doing is moving the puck very quickly, and you can see that it's just a matter of letting the puck do the work, and they're generating opportunities. The Rangers are actually out of position. They're attacking so much.
Howe's pass is given up to the Rangers, and they bring it back out. Time continues to go off. Half a minute to go now, and one beleaguered shift comes off for the Ranger penalty killers. Stepping over the boards are Janssens and Jan Eriksson. It's Craven bringing it ahead. Hands on the wing to Mike Bullard. Hooked at by Eriksson. Floats one to the slot that's tipped off of Rick Tocchet. Brought back up by Eriksson. Eriksson nearly run off by Mark Howe. Tocchet has to help out, and we're down to the last 8 seconds of the power play. And way back to get this is Kerry Huffman. Ranger penalty killers are 2 for 2. Puck thrown all the way down, stopped by Van Beesbrook, shoveled underneath Tocchet and Bullard, and started back ahead by Kelly Kissio. Kissio holds, hands back over for Leach, tries to turn the defense, centers, but it is Sinisalo, the only one there for the Flyers. Back up ice comes Sinisalo, headman's up the wing to Tocchet. Had it knocked away by Leach, though, and forehanded back out to Kissio. 6:40 left first period, 2-0 Rangers ahead. Leach tries to get by, but can't, as Gord Murphy is able to brush it back out. Randy Moeller across, and it's slammed back around by Kissio. Poulin yanks it light back to Murphy. Murphy trying to bring it ahead, and here come the Rangers in. Sandstrom moving in front. Kissio with a pocket shot was high off of Reggett. Kissio behind. Feeds it on back. Patrick angles one that goes wide. Dahlin trying to get to it. Pursued from behind and pressed to the boards and glass by Sutter. To his side, continue the battle. And Dahlin able to walk away. To Sandstrom, back for Dahlin, and that one skipped on over to Derek Smith. Smith back up ice for the Flyers. Hands on to Ron Sutter. Couldn't get by that Ranger defense. Banked right back off the puck comes to Dahlin. He's plastered to the glass by Samuelson. Back on comes Derek Smith with a shot that is tipped wide by Shaw. James Patrick is there. Smith steps right back into him, but the Rangers can bring it back up ice. Very quickly they move it on. Carrying in this time as Millette drops to Sandstrom for a shot that's snagged and held by Reggett. 5:39 left in the first. Sandstrom and Ogrodnik, the goal scorers.
A couple of good saves by Reggett. Watch Sandstrom at the top of your screen go to the net as a decoy. That takes Shell Samuelson with. And Kelly Kissio tried to go up high, but Reggett was far out of the net. This is the carry by Millette and the rocket by Sandstrom that Reggett gloves. That almost looked like it touched somebody going through there between the Flyer defenders.
Reggett poised as Acton will draw with Millette. Off the face-off, controlled by Chris King, one of the 6-column guys brought over in the trade from Detroit. Loose puck taken by Millette, looking for King. Backhands one that ricocheted off of Reggett and went wide. It is King once more, maneuvering out, and a backhander had to be turned aside by Reggett. Tony Granato forced one, and Reggett decides just to hang on, and that good advice, and now King moves in on Acton.
Ooh. And I'll tell you what the Rangers have that they haven't had in a few years. They got some toughness and some togetherness. Did you see them all crowd around? I think that was Troy Millette that leveled Jeff Chikrin from behind, but the Rangers have not had a reputation over the years of a team that sticks together and wades in there when the going gets tough.
Boy, you can go back almost 2 full decades to find a club like that in New York, but they seem to have one now. They're leading in this game by a score of 2-0.
All right, we'll pick this up with Kenny Reggett smothering the puck. Now, Granato didn't poke away at it. He just came through and tripped. There's Chris King. Now, watch Jeff Chikrin on the left get steamrolled from behind. Boom, yeah, that's who it was. Number 26 is a 19-year-old kid playing for the Rangers. Is that Mike Bullard that jumped on the pile and started to rough up Millette? They got a bigger team up front. A little tougher team. That's Tony Granato going at it with Keith Acton. Of course, Woody Acton's always looking for somebody to exchange verbal blows with.
Keith Acton, the Flyers, each a minor for high sticking. For 26, Troy Millette, New York, the minor for cross-checking. 14-40.
Okay, King and Acton high-sticking, Millette cross-checking, so out of this the Flyers come out with a power play. The pictures often tell stories far greater than words. Did you see Granato yelling at Acton and Acton returning it? A rivalry that has been fierce, and now with the Rangers having a little more muscle as well as success, you can imagine that they're going to flex it even more. 7 games in the season series.
And you know what, Mike? The muscle gets bigger with success, too. It really does.
And even the smallest play bigger with that muscle along to help, don't they?
No question. And I guess he's doing what every tenacious hockey player really has to do in that situation. I remember Fred Shiro always used to say, you can't allow yourself to be held. If somebody's holding you up in the neutral zone, do anything you can, but get loose. Here's the Flyers' best scoring chance. That's a super save. Tim Kerr pulled that around to the forehand and tried to get it up high real quick. Watch it. Van Beesbroek's left arm. It's a great save. I think Tim Kerr had a little more room and might have been able to go a little higher, but it doesn't take anything away from the Van Beesbroek save.
Off this face-off, puck comes back to Leach. Leach driving one that went off of Craven, followed up now by Kelly Kissio. Yanks it right back to Leach again. Down to the last minute and a half of the period as Leach shovels it off to Ogrodnik. Back to Leach, but Howe was in the way and cleared it back down. Just thinking as I was watching that Kerr replay again, that would not be a play that would result in a problem with his shoulder at all in terms of had he been hit in that situation, because it is the left shoulder, and it's also his strong side for letting a shot go too, because he was controlling it to his right. Here's Ogrodnik, then back to Leach, then over to Ogrodnik again, fires, and that one deflected away by Reggett. Kelly Kissio controlling. The captain of the Rangers banks it back to Leach, gets it again. Kissio, quick shot, and that blocked away by Reggett. Turned back along by Mullen. Ogrodnik couldn't get to it because of Howe. Now Mullen and Howe battle for it, and along to control is Dave Poulin. Tried to kick it along, but Mullen forces one through Ogrodnik, and again the Flyers play behind their net. Samuelson rolls. It's Mullen to Ogrodnik. Centers, but that kicked away by Samuelson and played back to the point to Leach. Leach waits. Hands back to Kissio. Penalty time down to 45 seconds. Leach with a drive. That one went wide. Rebound on the back of the goal. Forced off by Poulin and back down as we're to the last 20 seconds of the first period of play.
Pretty good play by Dave Poulin. I think that deflected off a Flyer. So if he leaves it on the back of the net, the faceoff is in the Flyers zone. He chipped it off the back and iced it.
It is Eklund clearing back down, and that'll pretty much do it on the power play. Meanwhile, down to the ice went Derek Smith, and the fans would have called a penalty, but Terry Gregson does not, as the horn sounds to end the first period of play. The shots on goal in the period for the Flyers 8, for the Rangers 10. Sandstrom from Dahlin and Wilson on the power play at 1:37. Ogrodnik from Leach and Shaw at 7:01. 20 minutes have come and gone with the Rangers. Second period about to get underway.
And you know, the Flyers tonight, Mike, really should have had an advantage face-off-wise. They've been coming on. They started slow in the face-off department this year, and the Rangers really don't have top-notch draw men on a consistent basis. But in the first period, there were 18 face-offs. The Rangers won 12 of them, so they're doing just about everything right. And when you win that many draws, it gives you an extra 10 to 15 seconds to either kill off a penalty or to get possession of it when you have a power play. And it's just a lot easier on the legs of the team that's winning all the draws when there's that decided an advantage. The Rangers won 2/3. The guys that are on the bottom end of that 2/3, or if you only win 1/3, you always seem to be on the chase, and it just takes something out of your legs by the time the game's over.
Rangers, out of their 25-man roster, have 14 of their own draft picks, and 2 of the first-rounders are out together on defense. Leach, number 2, and James Patrick, number 3. Now, keep in mind, still 10 seconds on a Flyer penalty to deal with here. Back in now, shorthanded comes Sinisalo, but that one cut off by Dahlin, and he starts it back up ice. Looks towards Sandstrom, but will carry himself. Ulf Dahlin to Sandstrom, then across to Kerry Wilson. Wilson peels and takes a look. Dumps one off for Sinisalo, but it's grabbed off by Mark Howe, and with the two teams at full strength, Howe hammers one around the boards. Sutter, in the midst of turning now, plays the puck and dumps it back in. There was a shift change on for the Flyers at that time. Here's Derek Smith up with it. Feeds one to the slot that was just away from Sinisalo and all the way back down. Jan Eriksson hops over the boards to play for the Rangers in a forechecking role as Wells connects with Derek Smith. Trying to get by Moeller. Shovels one for Sinisalo that's poked away. Ilka Sinisalo to grab it. Hands back along for Smith, who left it behind and then was checked off by Moeller. Puck squibbed through, and Ron Sutter goes after it along with Janssen. And the two of them tie up. Then Moeller steps into Smith. Van Beesbroek rolls it along the wall, and it is Eriksson just paddling it back out. Rangers can't control for the 2-on-1 break it looked as though they might have. It is Hardy connecting back on with Jan Eriksson. Eriksson moving in, drops to Janssen. His shot went wide. To get this is Eriksson again. Back to Janssen. Jan Eriksson once more, chopped at by Tocchet. Wells bumps off Eriksson. Puck dumped back along to Ron Sutter. And Sutter pressed by Eriksson. Coming along to get it is Derek Smith. And again, play shifts back to the Ranger end. Just getting up from out of the net is Shaw. Back ahead now comes Jan Eriksson. I was watching the play of the puck, so...
Well, he was trying to take Rick Tocchet out of the play, and they just ended up hitting shoulders in front of the net. Shaw got the worst of it and went down.
It is prop flipping, and it's drilled right back along by Mullen, but cut off by Ron Sutter. Forced by Chychrun, and so Reggett will have to come out with Ogrodnik right on him, and then he fans on a clearing attempt, but it is forced back around by Chychrun. Kept by Leach, flung back into Huffman. Rangers move in, 2-on-1. Ogrodnik couldn't poke it home. It was blocked off by Reggett, and he hangs on. Ranger checking again presents a problem.
Well, you combine that kind of checking with a little bit of tightness in the hands, but the Rangers had some good execution right here. Brian Mullen ended up with the scoring chance, or at least pushing it through to Ogrodnik. See that feed from Brian Mullen? He just laid it through because Jeff Chychrun was turned around, and Ogrodnik tried to stab it between Reggett's legs. That's a beautiful feed by Brian Mullen. Pretty good save by Ken Reggett. Of course, the big news in the Flyers camp is that Ron Hextall is back. You know that Ken Reggett's head has been spinning enough as it is this year, but you know, in a sense, it might be the best thing for the Flyers. They really need something to shift the spotlight away from their losses this year and perhaps have it shine on somebody else. So Ron Hextall has really been getting all of the attention yesterday and today of the two workouts that he's had. He can't play until early November anyway.
First game would be November the 4th in Toronto against the Leafs.
Of course, that's because of his suspension, the Chris Chelios incident during the playoffs last year.
Punched away by Reggett, thrown back out by Eklund. Teams are at even strength, only one shot in the period, and that to the Rangers. We've played 2.5 minutes. Along with Bill Clement, Mike Emmerich from the Spectrum, we hope you're enjoying tonight's game. Flyers fans, of course, might sneer at that remark as their team trailing in the game 2-0. Ahead now comes Ogrodnik. Hammers one that is stick to the glass by Reggett. Brushed back along by Wells. Still they battle for it. Wells and Ogrodnik once more. Tim Kerr is there. Ogrodnik shoved off by Wells. What a battle. Puck kicked right back out to Murphy, and Gord Murphy can throw it ahead to Kerr. Tim Kerr brings it on. Has a trailer in Eklund, but goes across and then couldn't get it to Craven.
You know, this last sequence of plays is the best example of what it means to have not much confidence. You can play defense without any confidence. The Flyers were tenacious, great man-to-man, good play by Jay Wells. They turned the puck up ice, crossed the Rangers line, bogged down with a bad pass. That's what happens when the hands go. They go first when the confidence goes.
Eklund across now, and that one hit off of Acton. Thrown along by Van Beesbroek. Samuelson flings one. The Flyers need at this point is not an artful goal, maybe a dirty one. Here's Berube going in, and he's checked down by Mark Hardy. It is controlled by Bullard. Shovels it through, but it's carried right back up ice and thrown out again by Millette. Ken Reggett out to Tendon. Swings one along that ricocheted right back off of Howe, guided by Samuelson, then back up to Berube. Taps on to Mike Bullard. With Berube trailing, the pass to Berube, and he sent the shot wide. It is jammed back out by Kerry Wilson. Moving up ice with this is Granato now. Peeling off for the Rangers. Tried to shake one to the slot, but Berube knocked it down, and Howe can lay it back to Acton. Headman pass on to Mike Bullard. Bullard fires, and it went just wide. Doing the splits on that was Van Beesbroek, and back up now come the Rangers. It's a drop by Granato, and a drive by Wilson that is saved by Reggett. Flyers turn with just over 4.5 minutes played in the second period. They trail the Rangers 2-0. Pass ahead now, Sinisalo drops it on, and here's Berube moving in again. Shovels one that went into Leach. Tapped along for Berube by Acton. He's hit by Wilson. Berube can't get to it. Moving in is Acton now. Checked again by Kerry Wilson, who shovels it along. Sinisalo to play. Punch from him. Thomas Sandstrom can't get to it. Instead, it's Jay Wells. Banks it along for Sinisalo, but again it's given up to the Ranger defense, and David Shaw brings it back. Ken Reggett sets it up, swings one along that's taken by Poulin. Has Derek Smith and Sinisalo up front with him, but this one is checked away by Janssens, and again the Flyers must go back. Flyers have played over 5 minutes of this period shotless. They had 2 shots on goal in the first 10 minutes and then came up with their other 6 in the second half of the first period. Here's Eriksson feeding to Jansen's. A backhander is smothered by Murphy. Loose puck poked right behind Chris Nyland and brought back up by Derek Smith. Shift change on for the Flyers, so Smith is circling, then laying one back up to Sinisalo. Flyers were in the midst of a change, and Sinisalo was the man to come off, so he threw Rick Tocchet off a little bit by playing it. Rangers just lift one off the glass that forces Jeff Chychrun to go back to play. Here is Chychrun controlling with a pass that's tapped along by Tocchet along to Ron Sutter, and out of play it goes. Early going, second period of play. Now things change.
Well, if the Flyers are going to get it going, you might as well do it with the line that's been most consistent all year. Rick Tocchet's on the right side, Ron Sutter at center, and Brian Propp on the left side. Against most teams, they have been dominant. If not on the scoreboard, at least in territory. They always seem to be in the other guy's zone doing a lot of good forechecking. They're going to have to do some here.
Ron Sutter's brother, Rich, had the 3-goal hat trick last night. All 3 goals that were scored by Vancouver in their victory over New Jersey. Ron comes into this game with 99 career goals. Backhander by Kissio, sent aside by Reggett, and he swats the centering pass away. It is Kissio forcing one back, but it's followed up by Kerry Huffman on defense. Wedged right to the boards by Ogrodnik, but it pops ahead for Tocchet to hand over to Sutter. Sutter tries to finesse the defense. Held off, and Tocchet got a backhander away. Now it's Sutter once more. Given a jolt to the boards by Mullen. Tocchet turns with it for the Flyers. Watched by the Rangers. Boy, they just don't give much room. It's rolled right back around. Van Beesbroek is there. A jam up behind, and trying to get to the front was Propp, but the Rangers emerged with this one and started back out at a 3-on-3. Kelly Kissio trying to turn by Shell Samuelson. The little guys always give the big men more trouble, but Samuelson wins this duel, and it's sent back up the board for Tocchet to skate freely with. Big blast and a pad stop made by Van Beesbroek. It's dumped behind for Sutter, but around to get it is Chris King. Tough winger, acquired from Detroit. King shakes one back deep. It is Reggett to get it. Forces one past Sutter, though. A one-time attempt by Poshek failed, but the Rangers had enough people back to cover, and Brian Leach will swing one ahead, but too far for Granato. Howe tries to connect with Eklund, gets it on now to Murray Craven. Craven's shot, and that one went wide. Samuelson will go back to get it. Flyers with now a couple of shots on goal in this period, while the Rangers have 5. Neither team has scored in this period. If you're just joining us, the Rangers had a couple in the first. Samuelson pivoting away from Granato. Then it is Howe. It's dumped off to Murray Craven. Has Eklund breaking. Holds, then shoots. Slowed down, just plenty of Rangers in the way. It's lugged back up by Rudy Poshek, and Poshek just dumps it back down. One of the things always said about Roger Nielsen teams because of their defensive orientation was that they weren't really interesting to watch.
Yeah, dull.
But when it's successful, it's not dull to the team that's doing it, is it?
It's not dull when you get all those W's in the win column, I'll tell you that.
This is Jay Wells turning. Fans chanting, "Let's go Flyers." Brushed along by Hardy, and it's Sinisalo there. Along now, it's Kerry Wilson to Sandstrom, who hurried a shot wide. Wilson steps right over after it, shouldered hard by Derek Smith. Poulin with a pass that is knocked down by Sinisalo. He's able to lay it to the corner, and Smith goes burrowing in after it, along with James Patrick, and he steps into him. But the Rangers just clear, and Kerry Huffman, positioned rightly to keep this one from going the length, forces the Rangers to chase again. 10:55 to go in the second. Rangers ahead in the game, 2-0. Busy card of NHL action tonight. 9 games on tap. We'll fill you in as we get scores, and then, of course, between periods, you'll have a complete roundup. Puck flipped ahead out of the glove of Mike Bullard, trying to control his pool and able to feed it over for Smith, who drove a shot wide. This is Mike Bullard to play. Bullard has the hottest hand among the Flyers lately. Dave Poulin can't handle that toss, and it is Chychrun one-timing, but floating one wide, and Poulin trying to get to the puck dislodged the net. So again, play is stopped here at the Spectrum in Philadelphia.
Bottom right of your screen is Ron Hextall. Right above him, John Paddock, assistant general manager. That's Bernie Perron on the top left. Ron Hextall looks like he's just looking through a little bit of reading material. There's not much he can do because of his suspension until November the 5th.
Except practice a lot. You can imagine how quiet his life must have been once the Brandon team started its junior hockey season. Then he didn't have a regular practice every day with a lot of players around. Here spinning is Shaw. Leaned into by Berube. Acton is there. Checked off. Puck jammed around by, that time by Randy Mueller, and punched back out by Eriksson, who got a good check from Chychrun. But it is Kerry Huffman. Away from Nyland's checking, but it's Jansen picking it off, trying to reach it to Eriksson, and it just pops into the glove of Ken Reggett, and he'll wait. 10:02 to go in the second. Rangers ahead in the game by a score of 2-0. Only 4 stoppages in this period so far. A lot of continuous activity, very deliberate activity at that.
I'll still take a bet that Vaughn Sutter's going to score tonight since Rich's twin scored last night. I mean, that's just the way it goes. He's that close to Rich. Went up to the Meadowlands area and had dinner with Rich a couple of nights ago before the Canucks played there last night. But they're twins. Hey, one guy gets a hat trick, the other one at least has to score the next night.
Milestone goal it would be, his 100th if he gets it, and it would also get the Flyers back into the game. That one trickled underneath the stick of Sutter, banked back off by Kissio. Samuelson couldn't stop, and Ogrodnik trying to get by. John Ogrodnik steps free, feeds a pass that is drilled toward the net by Mullen, but slowed down by Tocchet. Given up, though, to Leach, who has to play in neutral ice and finesse a little pass or be offside. Rick Tocchet brings it on for the Flyers, had a poke checked away by Mullen, and again, the Flyers must chase.
There's that lineup in the neutral zone again. The Rangers have all their forwards back, and you can see what happened. Rick Tocchet tried to carry and tried to beat one more guy, but the Rangers are staggered. They've got all the lanes cut off for passing. They force you to either dump it in or carry. But you've seen what has happened tonight when the Flyers have tried to carry.
Tocchet with a pass, and that one cut off, brought back up, and thrown on the wing where Granato tries to carry. Moving along with Chris King. Granato trying to turn Wells. Wells takes him out of the play, though the puck winds up underneath. Yanked free by Granato, but taken by Gord Murphy on the Flyers' defense. Murphy throws it back off, but it is Chris King to take over. Flyers shotless in the last 4 minutes of play here. Have 10 shots on the period, or 10 shots on the game, I should say, while the Rangers have 16. Dahlin brushes this one right back ahead, and it's carried on by Wilson. Swung back along by Sandstrom. Reggett back to get it. Then into Jay Wells, but traffic there. Floated along by Murphy, but Leach is there. Wrist shot is gloved away by Wells and gathered in by Murphy. Crisp pass ahead to Craven. On the left, he's got Eklund. On the right, Tim Kerr. The drop is to Eklund. Tried for Kerr, but that one ricocheted off Dahlin and is drilled back along by Sandstrom. Brought up by Ulf Dahlin. One man back right now. That's Eklund. Howe comes back to help out, too. Nice poke check by Eklund, forcing play to the boards. Dahlin and Eklund once more. In comes Howe. It's punched along to Wilson. Points it on back for a turnaround shot that is gloved by Reggett and put in play to Mark Howe. Virtually non-stop this period. Not exactly big ooh and ah action, as there have not been many close plays at all. Sinisalo drifts that one back, and it is Reggett again to force it back along to Ilka Sinisalo, checked by Jansen. Then followed up by Craven. Offside call. 7:23 left in the second. Rangers still with the lead on goals by Sandstrom and Ogrodnik.
17,423.
As you look at the score, we'll mention that the Rangers have not seen less than 3 goals this year on their side of the scoreboard. That's been another improvement in the club, and everything's worked right. Compared to last year, their defense is better, and so is their offense. They are 6th best defensively and tied for 2nd in offense.
You know, the Flyers have only scored more than 3 goals once this year, and that was the one game that they won. That was here against the Quebec Nordiques. Last year, the Flyers played 39 games in which they scored 3 goals or less. They won 6 of the 39. So that seems to be the magic number, not only for the Flyers, it's a magic number for everybody these days. You got to score 4 to be in the hunt.
Acton tries to center. That one spun back off by Mark Hardy. Kept alive by Chychrun. Berube with a shot that goes wide. Now it is Huffman, and he drills one wide. Berube will stop this one. Poked it away from Hardy, back to Chychrun. But it is Hardy having it poke-checked away, and Acton moves ahead. Drops one back that Berube has to go for, but it is foisted back out of the zone by Jan Eriksson. With 6:35 to go in the second period of our game tonight from the Spectrum, the Rangers 5 wins, a loss, and a tie against the Flyers 1 win, 5 losses, and a tie. This is the Flyers' 4th home game. They are 1-2, and their only victory of the year, as Bill mentioned, against the Quebec Nordiques. Bringing this ahead is Murphy now. He floats one well wide. Right back for the defense is Shaw to touch up. We get an icing call and a halt to play.
Kenny Reagan is down repairing his toe strap. So we'll wait a couple of seconds. There he is, still wearing that same helmet. He's got 5 stitches in his forehead from a morning skate shot that he took 2 days ago in New Jersey at the Meadowlands. Craig Berube hit him. He said today, I'm not going to switch helmets until I spend the night, at least one night, overnight in the hospital. That's when I know I have to change helmets. Going to the hospital and getting stitched up is nothing. Said it's when I have to stay overnight, that's when I'll know to switch.
How bad is bad, huh?
Right.
Tocchet to Prop, and he sent it wide. Ron Sutter to get it. Back now to Wells. Dumps it back off for Tocchet. Centered out in front. And it is jabbed by Ogrodnik, but not out. Ron Sutter fires one. Deflected across the goal mouth. But it is Kissio up with it. Down to the ice went Prop, and off the ice will come Randy Moeller for interference. The Flyers to get another power play. They trail in the game 2-0.
Nothing new for the Sutter line. Pressure in the offensive zone that ends up in a penalty being handed out on the left of your screen. Interference. There he sits, Randy Moeller. That was Brian Propp that was trying to get by him. If you push hard enough and attack long enough, you almost always either get a goal or end up drawing a penalty.
Even though it's the second period, this is big time for the Flyers. Very hard to get a goal tonight against the Rangers. They've not gotten one yet. Next goal is the biggest. Craven a shot, and that nearly got through. Van Beesbroek got his pad on it. Now it is Eklund, pointing it back to Craven once more. Deals it off to Eklund, then across to Prop. Shoveled one off Van Beesbroek. Scooped along, but still the battle on, and Leach able to emerge with it. As Janssens had tried to clear, help came from Leach, but not good enough. Leach will try, and this time he's able to force the Flyers back down. Brian Prop and Tim Kerr are wide on this power play as you see it develop with Craven carrying. Shovels it to the corner. Flyers fix the bayonets and go and get it, but the Rangers can shovel it off, though not out. Craven across to Brian Prop. Can't get the shot away. Bill mentioned the tight hands, and I think that was an example, too. It is Craven going to get it. Penalty time is down now to 1 minute and 5 seconds to go as Prop moves in with a pass across for Eklund that was wide. Now it is Murphy. Chopped at by Janssens. Puck rolled off the stick of Pelle Eklund. To get this now and throw it back down is Leach. And the Rangers will make a change, and the Flyers will too. Mike Bullard up ice along with Kerr and Tocchet. For the front line, it is Huffman and Murphy in back. Shaw throws, but Murphy knocks it down for Huffman to play. Pass across for Kerr, cut off by Leach. If they hurry, a 2-on-1. Leach maneuvering in. A shot, and it just missed the far post. This is Shaw, chopping one all the way down.
Boy, Brian Leach had Brian Mullen in the slot. It started out as a 2-on-1, turned into a 3-on-2. I'm surprised Leach shot. I guess he didn't see Mullen, but that's not like the guy that's got the Omnivision that I was talking about. Boy, now that one took a bounce.
Especially after it hit the stick of Reggett, then it played sort of crazily, didn't it? Down to the last 5 seconds on this power play. It is dealt over by Huffman to Tocchet. Tocchet to the corner, sent one high around the glass. And out of the box is Moeller, and the Rangers have killed off 4 out of 4. Mark Howe able to jam this one away. Now floats one ahead to Tocchet. In the Special Teams Index, that is ranking 1 through 21 power plays and penalty killing units, and then adding them up and getting a score, the low number means the best. And the Rangers are the best in the league right now. Get a chance to amplify on that in a moment, but here's a chance for Mike Bullard to move in. He's got Sinicello breaking. Bullard crosses, shovels one in front, and it's saved by Van Beesbroek. Smith with a drive, knocked down by the defense. and cleared back down.
Now, that situation is the kind of situation the Flyers are going to have to try and engineer. Get a shot through, go for the rebounds, try and screen along the way. Mike Bullard starts this play, and as soon as he starts moving laterally, that gives Ilka Sinisalo time to get in front. That's pretty good coverage by Dahlin, number 9. More good coverage by Sandstrom. You saw that Derek Smith's shot never even got through. But as soon as Bullard started moving laterally, that bought the other two guys time to go to the net. And let's face it, we've talked about the tight hands, about the confidence that the Flyers don't have. You got to go with the basic stuff, the blue-collar type goals.
All right, we're ready. Mallette on the draw with Dave Poulin, and the Rangers have it. Randy Moeller, who you just saw getting a new stick from the Rangers bench, uses it to force play back near Ken Reggett once more. Shell Samuelson takes this one with 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the second period. Rangers ahead in the game, 2-0. Offside is called. We're mentioning that special teams index. The Rangers with a very low total of 8. They are 5th on the power play and 3rd in penalty killing, 5 + 3, 8. Minnesota is 10 for second place, and Quebec 3rd with 15. You know, it usually doesn't follow. It's mostly the better teams that are ranked high in the special teams index, but Quebec, who's really had trouble this year, must just be giving up so many even strength goals that they forced themselves into that position.
Well, I think the fact that the season's early, too, will lend itself to a lot of change. Should Quebec finish where I think they're going to finish, I just about guarantee you now, or at least take a bet, that they won't be up there near the top of the special teams index.
Icing called. There have only been 2 icings in the game.
But
Not in the first period, as we see this play come back from the Ranger end and a Flyers fan here tonight.
I'll just about bet right now that the Flyers won't end up where they are right now, special teams index-wise. They've got a combined ranking of 32. They're 19th on the power play, 13th in penalty killing, and last year they had a special teams index of 6, being 1st on the power play and 5th on the penalty killing. That's real strong. You get down in those single-digit numbers. If you can even be in a single-digit number, you're really strong.
Chris Nyland was just bringing up one of the oldest arguments to quiet an argument, and that was refer to the scoreboard. You may have watched him there just now. Nyland is 2nd in penalty minutes in the league. That's a category that not much attention has been drawn to since the days of Schultz and Kelly and Clement, all those people.
He is 3rd all time. He passed Dave Schultz last year. He's only trailing Tiger Williams now and Willie Plett.
Jay Wells is 20th on that list. If he plays to be 70, he might catch Tiger Williams, who is the all-time leader in penalty minutes. Here's a chance for Bullard to step ahead. Got by Leach, gave it to Kerr, flipped one that is just gloved and held by John Van Beesbroek. Workmanlike job being done by these Rangers here tonight. 2:08 to go in the second period. Rangers entered the game tonight with the best winning percentage in the league, tied with Minnesota for that honor, and their best start since 83-84 when they won 9 of the first 10.
You know, Chris Nyland had his abdomen operated on this summer. Flew out to Vancouver, and there's so many injuries, those abdominal strains that never were around before. In camp, in the very first preseason game, he got into 2 fights against the Pittsburgh Penguins just to test it. Obviously, the test proved positive, or proved effective, because he's out there now and he doesn't seem to be hurting at all.
He's had 3 scraps already this year in 7 Rangers games. Keith Acton leaned on from behind, really worked over by David Shaw, coming by to get it as Jansen's, and it is floated along where Jay Wells can dump it back in. Flyers are using Acton with Bullard on the left and Tim Kerr on the right. Murphy and Wells the defense. Teams are at even strength with 1 minute and 35 seconds to go in the second period. Ahead with this now comes Jan Eriksson. Shovels one wide. Around the boards it comes. First one to get to it is Ogrodnik. Dumped it back further, but it's set up by Reggett. Along now to Jay Wells. Then over to Murphy. Murphy's pass skipped by Acton. Reaction move there by Shaw worked for the Rangers, and he connects with Ogrodnik, who moves in. Ogrodnik with a drop pass, and Nyland tried the backhander, but wiped out. Flyers bring it back, and they've got a rare 3-on-2 here. Tocchet moving in, has Murphy, controls, and a rising shot went off the glass. Skated down by Kelly Kissio. Flyers with a man back as the Rangers swoop in. The pass over to Nyland. Backhands one through the legs of Kelly Kissio. Now it's Tocchet starting back in the last 45 seconds of the period. Couldn't get it by Randy Moeller. Puck given up to Mark Howe. Then along to Prop. And it is Tocchet feeding over to Ron Sutter. Tries to get by Hardy and sent one off the back of the goal. Sutter still working. Drilled one into the glove of Howe. Turnaround shot went off the leg of Kissio, and Kelly Kissio can start it back. Misses for Ogrodnik, and we're down to the last 22 seconds in the period as Kjell Samuelsson takes over. Prop tried for Sutter, but it was just reached by Dahlin. Back into the glove of Samuelsson and then taken by Mark Howe. 12 seconds left. And Randy Moeller forces the Flyers back again. One final change by the Rangers as the final seconds go off the clock, and a very quiet second period of play comes to a close. Shots on goal for the Flyers, 6. For the Rangers, 8 in that period.
Well, the Flyers are right there. I mean, the New York Rangers continue to be a very... first game in the NHL standards. His first game was against the Hartford Whalers in 1983-84. Faced 56 shots. Ended up winning the game for the Leafs 8-6.
Well, that was the first of a ton, wasn't it?
Boy,
the Maple Leaf goaltender.
Boy, oh boy. Ain't that the truth?
Between Reggett and Alan Bester, they must lead the league in the 1980s in 40 save or more games, because the Maple Leafs, especially in Bester's early years as well, were facing 45 and 50 shots a night. And Bester, a lot of times, as Reggett was the difference between winning and losing, or between losing by a lot and by not much. Drive deflected wide of Van Beesbroek as we get into the early seconds of this third period. Both teams are at full strength. A 2-0 Ranger lead that the Flyers have to work on. One goal can change the course of a game. If the Flyers get it, they're right back in it, trailing by 1. If the Rangers get it, it's a 3-goal advantage on the road, and the way they play check, 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 it would be awfully hard for the Flyers to come back. Jay Wells of the Flyers defense, along with Gord Murphy. Wells moving back out and firing one around the boards that stops at the stick of Van Beesbroek, and is quickly turned back up to Kerry Wilson. Wilson has Granato along with him, just shakes one wide. It is picked off by Kerry Huffman. Wrapped around the boards and trying to leap to grab. That one was Chris King. Drive deflected from Leach. Getting a piece of it was Granato. To play this is Huffman. Missed for Prop and instead got Shaw. Reggett there to tend, and to take on defense is Jeff Chychrun. Second-year player. Chychrun with a pass across to Mike Bullard, who's in his 600th NHL game tonight. Then Huffman across to Prop and right back along to Rick Tocchet. Feeds back for Prop, but it's checked away. They try to follow up, and Bullard with a shot and a pad stop by Van Beesbroek. Huffman threw one off of Millette and wide, and it is drilled back along by King, but stopped by Chychrun. Back into the glove of Shaw. David Shaw with a pass that is controlled now deliberately by the Rangers defense and thrown over by Leach. So Shaw will return, and we have a penalty coming up as Mike Bullard steps into a man. The delayed penalty call up against the Flyers enables the Rangers to get a sixth attacker on. Fed to Sandstrom, and a shot is blocked off by Reggett. Good try by Sandstrom, and Reggett had to be quick on that one. Rangers to get a power play with 1:59 gone in the third. They lead by 2.
Well, it escaped our eyes. It escaped the lenses of our cameras. But Terry Gregson saw it. High sticking to Rick Tocchet. Now Van Beesbroek's already out of the cage, so this has already been called. You see Mike Bullard and Rick Tocchet are both piling into a Ranger back there, but that cage is empty, which tells you right away that Gregson was already on the call.
Puck about to be dropped unfairly. That's why play halted, and comes over to Mark Howe for the shorthanded Flyers, and we get the net dislodged and a halt to play, and Terry Gregson points the faceoff back outside. This is the third Ranger power play of the night. They're 1 for the previous 2.
You know, Marcel Dion had an interesting comment about the Rangers last year, and this might give you an example of the difference between the Rangers last year and this year. Dion said last year the team wasn't divided when he was asked if they were divided. He said we were confused. We were caught in the middle of a tug-of-war, and at the end of the year when we needed direction, the feud had an effect. The feud between Michel Bergeron and Phil Esposito. Well, this team has direction this year, and you can tell from watching them that they're not being pulled in a tug-of-war right now. But I thought that was a very interesting comment. They were just confused as to which way they should go.
Battle on, and Dave Poulin able to force it on back. It's kept at the point by Patrick. Patrick then hands to Leach, back for Patrick, and it's brushed away, and here's a chance for Dave Poulin in on a breakaway. Looks, shoots, save made by Van Beesbroek. As Poulin went to the backhand and Van Beesbroek snatched it. And that might have been a case where the game rested on the stick of first Poulin and then in the glove of Van Beesbroek.
Boy, that's the truth. Did Poulin ever pull away from James Patrick? Well, watch how far out he makes his move. Right there at the top hash mark, he made his move, and Van Beesbroek was able to push off the right foot and get over there to be in front of it. Van Beesbroek made a pretty good save, but he could tell that Dave Poulin was going that way, because watch where he makes the move. Right there, the top hash mark. Gave him a little fake like he was going to shoot, which was nice. It froze Van Beesbroek just for a moment. But because the move was made out so far, Van Beesbroek had time to push off his right foot and get over there. That's a big save.
Poulin and Prop remain out there for the Flyers. It'll be Howe and Samuelson and back as here come the Rangers and Kerry Wilson. Wilson deals it back over to Dahlin. Check from behind by Prop. It's brushed along by Samuelson, but the Rangers keep it and feed it near side to Mark Hardy. Hardy wheeling has Dahlin in front. Drive, and that one blocked off by Dahlin. Reggett may have gotten a piece of it too. Off of Wilson, it's chopped by Poulin and back down. Penalty time is down now to 55 seconds on this third Rangers power play of the game. If you're just joining us, Rangers ahead in the contest, 2-0. Randy Moeller sent it off of Reggett. It's taken by Eklund. Eklund bumped there by Kerry Wilson, and it's spun along to Sandstrom. Thomas Sandstrom taking a look. He's got Dahlin in front, but decides to feed to Wilson. To the point it comes to Moeller, then right back to Wilson. Fires, and it went wide. Around it is handled now by Hardy. Dipped one back off for Thomas Sandstrom, who left it but got it. Jay Wells working him over a little bit as it's sent back to Hardy, who did not keep it in. Mark says, I did. Wayne Bonney says, I didn't. I'm in charge. He didn't. Wayne Bonney, the linesman, had a period of time in which he refereed in the minors. And at one time, as a referee, he made a call on the Flyers trainer, Dave Settlemeyer. Settlemeyer was playing as a goaltender, but was also the trainer in the game. He went all the way to the other end of the ice to tend to an injured player. Bonney gave him a minor for crossing the red line. It was after play had been stopped, but the man observed the letter of the law. And you can imagine, with the southern drawl, the Flyers trainer complaining about the injustice of a call when he's just trying to help the guy out. It is Leach dropping it off for Patrick. And James Patrick will bring it back out again. Power play time left, just 2 seconds as they move it in deep. Granato is there, sidled up to by Sinisalo. Centering passes back for Leach, and a shot hit the outside of the goal. Kept alive, though, and rolled by Granato. Wells took the hit from Millette, got it along to Murphy, and the Flyers can bring it back up. Ilka Sinisalo floats it back in. John Van Beesbroek with likely the biggest save he's made in the game thus far. Shorthanded on Dave Poulin's breakaway about 2 minutes of playing time ago. Rangers with 20 shots, 2 in this period. Flyers with 16, also 2 in this period, as it's glassed back in by Kerry Huffman. Pinching is Mike Bullard, and the puck gravitates right near him. Comes back for Smith with a shot. Easy stop made by Van Beesbroek. Hands back on to Hardy, and he headmans it across for Chris Nyland to play. Nyland corners it, but to get it is Kerry Huffman. Spins one around to Tim Kerr. And Kerr just plops it back out, too far for Derek Smith. Rangers regroup on defense and dump it back in. Jeff Chikrin will go to get it. And it is Reggett brushing it around, but Chris Nyland there to take it. Nyland for the Rangers sent it back to the corner where Huffman just threw it back out. And once again, the Flyers clear and the Rangers regroup to drop it back in again. Shift change on. Mullen comes out for the Rangers, so does Ogrodnik. As Kelly Kissio will be the center on that line. You watch Jeff Chikrin for the Flyers move it past Leach. Down the ice it goes, and Randy Moeller is there. Had a second whack at it and cleared back off. Mark Howe had it brushed away, a 2-on-1 for the Rangers, but a nice cancellation of that by Jeff Chikrin. Just a little poke check, breaking that 2-on-1 offensive for the Rangers down. Now coming along to get it is Brian Propp. Gave it up to Leach, and it's flipped ahead, and here's a chance for Mullen back up the wing. Can't get the shot away. Now maneuvers right in front and trickle a backhander wide. It looked as though Mullen had been taken out of the play by Tockett's checking, but he came right back again. Off of Kissio, this is Mark Howe. Pestered by Mullen. Ships it back up to Brian Propp and then along to Mike Bullard. Here's Bullard flying ahead. Hands on the wing to Tocchet, but the play is offside. 13:53 to go, third period of our game. No scoring since the first. It's still 2-0 Rangers.
Yeah, those Mullen boys are pretty slippery. What a good play by Brian Mullen. Watch Rick Tocchet. He thinks he has him, but Brian Mullen gets his body so that he can actually be pushed ahead by Tocchet. He positioned himself perfectly. Try to backhand squeeze around Ken Reggett, but they're slippery. They've got a lot of similarities. Joey's got a little better hands than Brian, but they're pretty underrated, both of them.
Thomas Sandstrom goes back to get this for the Rangers. Help came from James Patrick. Flyers rush in, and Wells pinches, tries to keep play alive, and does, but back to Patrick it comes. Turns it back over for Randy Mueller, who scoops it back out. Sandstrom moves to take this one in stride. Rushed right to the wall by Jay Wells. Boy, just as you thought Sandstrom might escape, he did not get away from Wells that time. Puck jabbed along, and Gord Murphy will lay it behind the net, off the stick of Van Beesbrook. Flyers rush back in, and it's Prop, turning it back along to Rick Tocchet. Checked, though, by Patrick. Tocchet's pass missed for Prop. Gord Murphy able to keep it in. Trickles one to the corner, and James Patrick to go back for it. Gets away from the check of Tocchet and plays to Kerry Wilson. Little bump along the boards, and it's thrown back up by Hardy. 3-on-2 for the Rangers now as Dahlin hands on to Wilson. Moving in, yanks the pass to Dahlin, and a quick shot is snapped up by Reggett and held.
Well, for most of this game, Paul Hogan has had the Dave Poulin line against this line. That's Ulf Dahlin. He's on the left side. Kerry Wilson's in center, and Sandstrom on the other side. But when you're down 2-0, you got to play it straight away. So Rick Tocchet was out there. Brian Prop. If the Sandstrom line and the Wilson line is the best offensive line in the Rangers team, it would stand to reason that they have some defensive liabilities. So why not get your offensive guys out there? Watch this crunch. Yeah. I was really surprised that Sandstrom got up from that as quickly as he did. But Jay Wells just raked him into the boards.
A wrestler that I used to see named Cowboy Bob Ellis. That used to be the Bulldog headlock. Only it was the turnbuckle and not the boards.
Cowboy Bob Ellis. Right.
Yeah, a lot of old dusty wrestling magazines ago.
Was that from the Indiana wrestling circuit?
Oh, I don't know. It was one of them. Vern Gagne's up and down the Mississippi River, I think. Here is Reggett setting this up now for Kerry Huffman. Flyers need 2 to force overtime. Rangers have been very stingy just in giving up chances, let alone goals. They lead in the game 2-0. Shots are 17 for the Flyers, 21 for the Rangers. In this period, that means 3 off Flyer sticks and 3 off the Rangers. And we've played over 7.5 minutes. So that gives you the idea of the tempo of this game and how much either team has let the other get toward the net. This is off Shaw. Worked back along, but cut off by Poulin. Poulin trying to pull back in. Dave Poulin tosses behind. Ron Sutter out in front and shoved down his act and scramble at the net mouth. Sutter still poking away and trying to hang on to it. Van Beesbrook, he finally does, and then is bumped into by Acton, and there'll be a flurry here. Well, Troy Millette just threw a roundhouse in the direction of Kjell Samuelsson, and Mark Howe came in to stand near him. But you're right, Bill, the observation you made earlier, this is a different Ranger squad. Not only success in the early columns, but also in penalty minutes. They're rugged.
You had to know there was going to be some action when the puck ended up in front without a whistle. I guess Gregson could keep his eye on it, but now everybody's starting to poke away on John Van Beesbrook. A bit of traffic there.
Just to point out the difference in this Ranger team, at least in comparison to the Flyers, 2 of the Rangers, Chris Nyland and Chris King, have more fights than the Flyers do in total. Nyland has 3, King has 2, and the Flyers as a team have 4. Buck yanked right back around, and Janssens is there, stood up by the checking of Craven. Still the Rangers control with 11:22 to go in this third period. They're ahead 2-0, and it is Eriksson being clawed off by Mark Howe. Puck kept alive, though, as it's slugged back in deep by Patrick. Samuelsson turns toward it. Nyland is there, pumps it through Samuelsson, and it's jabbed by Kjell Samuelsson's reach so that Craven can control. Right back over to Samuelsson, has Sinisalo moving to center ice. The pass for Craven went off the mark, and Janssens tosses it back in. Another shipment of Rangers over the boards and back out. It's Kissio's line, along with Ogrodnik and Mullen now. It's the combination Roger Nielsen has out. Moeller back to touch this one, and Kevin Collins signaled no icing, but the whistle by Wayne Bonney had been blown, so on a mistake, it'll come to the center ice circle for the faceoff.
Rick Tocchet told me today that he is never going to take the ice in a hurry without stretching and warming up. He thinks that's how he ended up with his lower back problem. He just rushed out onto the ice for a morning skate without doing any stretching, and before he knew it, his back was tightening up. And to make matters worse, this last week when he was trying to get ready to play again, he had a bad sinus condition for a couple of days and was really under the weather with that. So it's been a tough week for Rick Tocchet.
It is Kissio on. They have a 2-on-1. Ogrodnik in, fires, and it went wide. Ogrodnik and Mullen, and just one defenseman back. It was Jay Wells. Ogrodnik again, right back along to Kissio. Ogrodnik fires, another one goes wide. Turning with this is Mike Bullard. Feathers a pass across that is followed up by Murphy. Gord Murphy controlling. Prop turns toward the net as it's thrown across the goal mouth. Now it's Bullard rolling one, and it's picked up by Tocchet. He's shoved off by Hardy. Rick Tocchet pivoting, leads one in front. It went off Bullard, who had a second flick of the wrist and almost directed it home.
Well, with Dave Poulin's breakaway and that chance, wow, that one went off the post. This should be a 2-2 hockey game.
That one ricocheted off the left post, went right behind Van Beesbroek. Play continues, Bullard hustling after it, and for the first time, the Rangers seem flustered by all that activity, and there's going to be more here. Mark Hardy and Tocchet are side by side, but it's a reaction to something else that had happened. Bullard heads to the box. There could be a Ranger too. Yes, Kissio. We'll get the calls in a moment.
New York penalty number 11, Kelly Kissio, 2 minutes for roughing. Flyers penalty number 10, Mike Bullard, 2 minutes for slashing. Time of the penalty, 10 minutes, 13 seconds.
Kelly Kissio, New York, 2 minute line of roughing. Mike Bullard, the Flyers, 2 minute line of slashing.
Well, after the Mike Bullard chance in front, this Flyer shot goes right off the post on a deflection in front. Watch the left post. There it was. Ding, right off the post. And then Kelly Kissio and Mike Bullard ended up in it. That's Kissio number 11 along the boards. Oh, big slash. Mike Bullard down on Kissio's back.
Bullard to slash Kissio, a rough at 10-13. Neither team short in manpower on the ice as Mark Howe goes back to take this one. Rolled it around the boards for Derek Smith. A pass that went behind Eklund but is gathered in by Kerr. Return for Smith, but that also off the mark. Smith wrapped up and taken hard to the glass by David Shaw. It's turned along by, that time by Dahlin, but spun back in front and gotten by Tim Kerr. Kerr tries to turn away from Shaw. Threw one in front. Smith a shot. How did he not get it through? It was because Van Beesbroek was there, and just getting up in front was Brian Leach, and that may have ricocheted off Leach too.
Well, Paul Holmgren is sending out all kinds of different combinations now. This one comes so close with Tim Kerr, Pelle Eklund, and Derek Smith. Smith has had just an outstanding game tonight. You can see that David Shaw, number 21, went to cut that pass, and he missed it. Watch Smith smash his stick. Yeah, he broke it all right. That's why he went to the bench. A low angle, camera right behind the net. Boy, Derek Smith has tried to lead by example tonight. He has hit just about everything that has moved. Big hitting game. And almost a big score there for Derek Smith, but he has struggled in that department this year. He's not really counted on to score goals. He's supposed to stop the other guys from scoring. Hasn't scored one himself yet this year.
Off the face-off, it is James Patrick, and it kicked away. Net mouth scramble, and Patrick was able to get a stick on it and guided away for Thomas Sandstrom. Sandstrom pokes it ahead, and it is Wilson swinging one well beyond the reach of Dahlin, and sliding out to get it was Ken Reagan. You know, as we watched that replay, it indicated, gosh, Derek Smith, how did he ever miss there? And then I noticed that Leach was out front, didn't realize there was a Flyer there too. At that close angle, he didn't have much to go for, did he?
No, he didn't, unless he got it up real fast. John Van Beesbroek is one of the best coverers of the low angles, the low corners. he's as good as anybody there is. He's got really big pads, and he goes down and gets up very quickly, but he butterflies really well without much room in the 5-hole between his legs, and that's what he's been doing most of the night. When Dave Poulin went around him, when Mike Bullard just had his chance in front, when Derek Smith had that chance. So he gives you something upstairs, but you don't have it for long because he waits till you're just about ready to shoot before he goes down. He doesn't commit early. He waits.
To the corner they go for this one, and Samuelson taps it back off. It's Jansen's trying to retrieve but can't. Prop turned it off of Samuelson, and Mark Hardy just slugs it back in, and the clock on the side of the Rangers here. 8:45 to go in the third. They're ahead in the game 2-0. Both their goals coming in the first period. One a minute and 37 seconds in on the power play by Sandstrom, and one about 6 minutes later by John O'Grodny. Here's Howe moving in, tried to brush it through the defense, but couldn't. Centering pass, and Ron Sutter couldn't reach it, and it's chopped back out again by Hardy.
You know, Mark Howe will govern the tempo of his play by the score. I was talking about it to him about it this morning, and he said, I'll jump up on the play when we're behind, but I won't do it until about the halfway point of the third period, depending on the score. Defense first, as long as the Flyers are ahead or the score is tied, but if they're behind, he jumps up on the play, and that was a good look at it. He was right up there. He generated that whole attack.
Absolutely. It is Huffman and Chikrin the defense now, as Howe resting at the bench. Driven back in by Millette and stopped behind by Reggett. Then turned right back off to Murray Craven. Forechecking is Millette, and so pivoting with it is Kerry Huffman. Huffman striding back out for the Flyers with one that is taken by Shaw, and Shaw just hooks it back down the ice. This will be an icing call against the Rangers as Chikrin is back to touch. 7:42 to go in the third period. Our score here, the Rangers 2 and the Flyers nothing.
Yeah. This shows you what happens when you get hit with a straight left. That's Jeff Chikrin's right eye, and he got in a fight a couple of nights ago with Dave Maley of the Devils. Said Maley surprised him. Maley came with the left and hit him with a couple of pretty good ones.
We mentioned the score here. We'll get a chance at some of those other scores, and of course you'll also have updates throughout the evening too. Acton about to take the draw with Kissio. The entire Wales Conference is in action tonight. 3 idle teams are over in the Campbell. Puck spun right back around by Hardy, and we get a stoppage of play as just getting up are Acton and one of the Rangers. Quickly, they're moved in on that one. I believe that might be Mullen.
Is it Mullen or is it Kissio?
It is Kissio again, yeah.
Well, you're talking about a couple of fierce little competitors. Roger Nielsen said that Kelly Kissio surprised him. He didn't realize he was that good a player. And that tells you that he's a coach's player or a player's player. You got to be around him a long time to understand just how good he is. And anybody that's watched the Flyers over the the playoffs last year and the start of this year knows how fierce Keith Acton is. Boy, oh boy. Well, that's a tooth and nail kind of struggle, isn't it?
Yeah. Kissio wanted to leave the scene right after the faceoff, and Acton had his stick. And then the haul down came and the disagreement. Penalties will cancel. Roughing apiece at 12:24. Boston held Edmonton to just 11 shots on goal in a shutout win last night.
That was in Edmonton too, wasn't it?
Right. And now they're having it handed to them tonight by Calgary 5-1. Icing called against the Rangers, and so it'll come back down.
Well, Ronnie Sutter's got about 7 minutes and 24 seconds left to score one. He experimented this morning with a metal shafted stick, and he was thinking about using it tonight. Decided against it, and you can see, I don't know if you were able to notice the black marks on the shaft of his stick. He puts a lot of black tape on there. He just likes it to be a little less slippery than it comes from the factory, and that's why very often you'll see the front of his jersey and his socks. You can see the knees of his socks get really black just from the shaft of his stick because he covers it with so much sticky black tape. He just rubs it up and down the shaft before the game.
Off the face-off. Samuelson shoots one. Save. Van Beesbroek. Backhander. Another save. And the Flyers get a 1-2 combination. The more deceptive one was the wrister by Samuelson, and Van Beesbroek held them.
Flyers have gotten stronger in the draws as this game has gone along as well. They were 15-15 in the second. Remember, they only won 6 of 18 in the first period. Good draw by Ron Sutter. He loses this one, though.
Sutter goes flopping down to the ice. Play continues, though, as this is Randy Moeller popping one that came over near Howe. Down to the last 7-10. A giveaway to Wilson, trying to shake free and cannon one off the outside of the goal. Centering pass is tipped away from Sutter and driven back in deep by Sandstrom. So it's Mark Howe for the Flyers defense, sending it off of Dave Poulin. Gathered in by Moeller, and again, the Rangers will force the Flyers back. 21 shots for the Rangers, 24 for the Flyers, as the Rangers have really laid off in this period. They have but 3 shots, but they have the lead, 2-0. Pass up the wing for Sutter. He goes in after it, trying to guide it behind the net. Got it to Eklund. Looks for Poulin. Couldn't shovel it. This time he tries, but it is off of Leach, and it's Leach for the defense to guide it right back up now to Eriksson. Floated to the corner. Samuelson back, driving it off the boards, and Nyland chopped, but into Eklund. Eriksson came by to help out, dropped one along, and Janssens is taken to the wall by Samuelson, who is without one glove. Puck flung back off of Dave Poulin, has a 2-on-1 with Tocchet. Back to defend is Patrick. Poulin score! At 2:34 of the period, Van Beesbroek stopped him. But at 13:52, he can't. 2-1 Rangers.
After Van Beesbroek stopping Dave Poulin on the breakaway, he made no mistake about this one. Poulin didn't. Watch the little fake that he lays on the defenseman. I don't know if you can see it right there, like he was going to pass. That froze James Patrick between Rick Tocchet and Dave Poulin. You'll see it from this angle, and we'll be able to tell exactly where he shot it. Watch the little fake right there, and then the shot that goes right. It actually gets under John Van Beesbroek's right pad. I talked about him going down. That time, Poulin got it under him before he could get down to it. Perfectly executed. Poulin was thinking shot all the way. Look out.
Chris King hit the post after Reggett got a piece of it. Puck dealt back along by Millette. The checking line comes out and works, and a chance came for Chris King that time. Here is Murphy. Up the wing for Tocchet, but it went by. There'll be no icing here. Clock down to 5:40 to go in the third. The Flyers' goal has picked up the crowd and the team. They trail the Rangers 2-1. On comes Tony Granato. Can't get by Jay Wells. Got a good backhander away while turning, and Reggett able to snap that one up and turn it back over to Murphy. Spectrum is noisy once more. Pass went too far for Wells. It's Hardy, but that broken up by Wells to Kerr. Oh, and getting a piece of it, Van Beesbroek. Loose puck worked along by Bullard. Back it comes to Samuelson, then to Prop. Has Bullard. Save made by someone or something in front. I don't think it got all the way through to Van Beesbroek. It is Howe turning away from Dahlin. Mark Howe brings it back. Pivots and holds. Drops it to the corner. Around it comes to Prop. Centers off the goal. Rangers can control. Looking for a pass as Dahlin threw it by Wilson and down. If the Flyers get there first, it's an icing. Samuelson does. It is. 4:42 to go, third period. A quiet place. It's quiet no longer. 2-1 Rangers. The Ed Snyders are watching as you look at this face-off come to Ranger possession. Nyland had that one brushed away, and it's taken by Murray Craven. 4 minutes, 30 seconds to go in the third period. Puck sent down the ice again. This won't be an icing as Chychrun turns it back off, and Eriksson is there to Nyland. Sent one in front as Janssens was breaking, but was locked up with Kerry Huffman's checking. Now it's Reggett leaving for Chychrun. Banks one along for Murray Craven. And it's Craven now with some skating room as the Rangers fall back. Murray Craven lugs it on further. Hammered by Leach's shoulder. Chychrun, a one-timer blocked away by Van Beesbroek. Now it's Leach shuffling one on to Chris Nyland, who controls. Nyland deals it back across. It's flicked away by Sinisalo. Kerr can't get any further with it, and the Rangers shoot it down the ice. Again, play will be stopped on an icing call as Huffman touches up. 3:48 to go in the third period.
Well, the Rangers are an improved defensive team, but they're still not a team that is not prone to panicking once in a while. They've just iced the puck here. Nyland had a chance to get the zone, get the center ice line, and dump it in. He decided not to, so the Rangers are now really back on their heels, and with 3:48 to go, you know the Flyers are going to be able to generate some scoring chances here. The Rangers are laying back.
Off the face-off, it is kicked by Shaw, flipped across, and Ogrodnik is up with it. Ogrodnik's pass up the wing is a prayer, hoping for Kissio, who's able to brush it along now to Mullen. Brian Mullen pivoting, just deals it back behind. No Rangers are there. Kissio now striding toward it. Cut off Jay Wells, and the puck popped over to Poulin. Now it is Murphy away from the hook check attempt of John Ogrodnik. Lays it back ahead, and Poulin wanted to get it through to Ron Sutter, who was open. Now it's Wells, banking one off for Sutter. Controls, and is worked on by Hardy along the board, so up with it is Poulin, and a backhander went off the leg of Sandstrom. Turned right back along, kept by Murphy, flipped one off a Ranger stick, and a leaping block of it by Mullen. Kept alive, though, by Howe. Centering pass is flagged down by Shaw and handed back on to John Ogrodnik, and Ogrodnik is able to drive one back in. Shift change for the Rangers. Clock ticks down to 2 minutes and 54 seconds to go in the third. If you're just joining us, the Rangers scored twice in the first. The Flyers have just answered with one. Howe with a shot that's blocked away. So the Flyers need one to force overtime here. Mike Bullard trying to dig it out. Still battling along the boards. Howe there too, but the Rangers can emerge. It's brought back up by Granato. They have a 3-on-2. Granato trying to get by Prop. Does, and the puck trickled right in close to the goal off the skate of Samuelson. Pinned to the boards momentarily. Still they work on it. Chris King of the Rangers, along with the Flyers, Brian Prop, and Prop is able to move out with it. 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go here in the third. Rick Tocchet pivots. Lays it back across to Prop. Float one up the wing, but that one is hacked down and played in deep by Bullard. Moeller's pass went off of Bullard, but is corralled and thrown back out by Kerry Wilson. Another Ranger change. The Flyers are in the midst of making 1-2. Gord Murphy with now just under 2 minutes to go here in the third period. Puck dealt back along by Patrick, followed up by Hardy, and he gets it into the glove of Janssens. Ahead with this comes Jan Eriksson. The drop is to Sandstrom, who crosses, looks, and then shovels one on to Hardy. Mark Hardy just plays the safety behind the net. Sandstrom in to get it, but is checked to the boards by Murphy. Eriksson steps in as well, and still the battle continues. Eriksson ridden to the boards by Jay Wells. 1:30 to go here in the third. The two of them go down. Terry Gregson can still see it, so it has to be played, and across it comes to Kerr to Craven. Up the wing to Ilka Sinisalo. Can he get by Hardy? Sinisalo floated a backhander wide. Around it comes to Janssens with a battle with Kerr, and it is Sandstrom up with it for the Rangers. Thomas Sandstrom pops one ahead. It is punched away from Ogrodnik. Worked back by Craven. Still in the goal is Reggett as Craven moves in, and a shot went off Van Beesbrook. Loose puck, another shot. Oh, and that went wide from Samuelson. And we get a stoppage of play. Knocked down to the ice and getting right back up again is Mark Hardy, and he's steaming. What a flurry back in the Ranger zone. But with 57 seconds to go in regulation time, the Flyers are still looking for one.
Shel Samuelson is a guy that fired it just high and wide, and he's trying to get in for the rebound. He's at the top of your screen with his back to us. Mark Hardy is holding his stick, and that's been a feud that started up tonight. That's a brand new one for Shel Samuelson. There's Hardy, and as Samuelson takes the shot, you can see that it was quite a ways wide. But the Flyers have been coming. I'll tell you what. You know, if we were talking about a team that had their confidence, we'd be talking about a team that would be leading this hockey game, because the Flyers, as of right now, pretty well outchanced the New York Rangers. John Van Beesbrook has been real strong when he's had to be, and he's really only had to be in the third period.
2-minute liner holding.
Hardy gets a holding minor, and for Shel Samuelson, it is roughing. Timeout is called. Incredible what the change in tempo can do, and the tempo was changed by Dave Poulin's goal.
Boy, isn't that the truth? No, the New York Rangers have tightened up. I mean, they tightened up right away as soon as Dave Poulin scored. And you know, Roger Nielsen, I'm sure, wants them to play kind of a prevent defense, and they do that anyway by dropping back into the neutral zone. But as soon as Poulin scored, the Rangers started collapsing, moving back in and giving the Flyers the blue line, which is something they hadn't done all game long. See Paul Holmgren plotting out the strategy.
Leggett will stay off. The Flyers will go with 6. You've seen some of them. Kerr, Propp, Ron Sutter, Tocchet, Murray Craven, and Howe. Rangers have their defensively oriented players out there. Chris Nyland is one of them. Jan Eriksson is another. Kelly Kissio will have to take the big draw in the game from Ron Sutter. Leach is out as well, and David Shaw. Those are the 5 Rangers in front of John Van Beesbroek. Off the tie-up, the Rangers win it, and it's Leach sending it around the boards. Eriksson is there, can't get it by Howe. Moving along to get it is Brian Propp. Trickled one by Kerr. Behind the net, the battle wages again, and up with it is Ron Sutter. 45 seconds to go in regulation time. Sutter taken to the boards by Shaw. Puck pops loose. Chris Nyland up with it. Turns it back out, and on with the puck now is Jan Eriksson. Eriksson chopped at by Craven. Moves in. Backhander cut right off by Propp. Half a minute to go in regulation time. Flyers with 6 attackers. As ahead comes Howe. Flips one that's knocked down. Dealt all the way back down the ice and in by Janssens. And that'll do it. The Rangers with a 3-1 win. And for Janssens, that is a very memorable first National Hockey League goal.
Well, the one time the Rangers decided to stand up and not give away the blue line was the time that Mark Howe decided he was going to carry and try and penetrate that way. And when he finally decided to dump it in, he ran out of room. Flyers had the rush going. They had a chance to dump it in. But Mark Howe delayed just long enough right there. And that's when Mark Jansen picked his pocket and scores an unassisted goal, a long one, and an empty net one. But nevertheless, his first one and a big one for the Rangers.
So to the last 20 seconds, Gary Huffman drives one back in, and the numbers that are so impressive for the Rangers continue to embarrass the Flyers. They have just the 1 win and the 1 tie, and now in the middle column, losses will be 6. For a start a Flyers club has ever had.